multiplication, and how do we use multiplication in real life? Think of a time outside of school, or maybe not even in math class, where you maybe have used multiplication. Your answers do not have to be in complete sentences. Again, I just want you thinking about what is multiplication. Thus far, we've really only focused on addition and subtraction using fractions. Now we have used multiplication to find that least common denominator, but we really haven't talked about it. So what is multiplication? You don't have to write out the full question. Just jotting it down, getting you thinking. Jimmy, what, multiplication?
Yes, I do.
Did you use how we use it in real life? Think of something. Think of a time that you could use multiplication.
I wrote it down there.
Yeah, you could answer where you use it, how you use it. All right, anyone think they can answer what is multiplication? Sincere?
Like when two numbers times into each other.
All right, when they times into each other? I like it.
Kind of curves.
Come on.
There's a tool that we use to multiply one number against another.
A tool that we use.
Times and things by another number to get a bigger number.
All right, timesing things by another number. Anyone else want to elaborate on that?
Not to me.
Okay. Think about some multiplication terms, too, that you may have used. All right, while Kamisha's still thinking, how do you use multiplication in real life? Where do you use it?
At stores.
Come on.
I use it at school, home, and
School and home, that's it? All right, just with math? So you don't use it anywhere else?
sometimes at stores.
All right, what do you have to do at stores?
I add, change.
Oh, I hear a word, add up the change. So why would you use multiplication when you're adding?
Oh, no, I know.
No, you're right. Why would you use multiplication when you're adding? Think about something, every time we've talked about multiplication, Ms. Wilding has always said, multiplication is what? It's repeated.
What, so?
It's repeated what? I'm looking for
Addition.
a repeated addition. Great job, Kamisha. Multiplication is repeated addition. It's a way where I can take the number 2, 2, and 2, and instead of going 2, 4, 6, I know I have 3 sets of 2, and that equals 6. Now that one's a little easier because we all kind of know how to count by 2s. But I could also take 4 groups of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. I might not be able to count by 4s. It might take me a long time. But an easy way to do that is taking 4 and multiplying it by 4 to get the product of 16. And that especially comes in handy when we are at the store and maybe Kimon is picking out a bunch of Mountain Dew, chips, and that. And instead of putting it all in his calculator, maybe he wants to buy 6 things of Mountain Dew at $1.12. Alright, the easiest thing to do would be to multiply it. Instead of adding 112, because you can use multiplication with decimals. Instead of adding 112 6 times, right, that's a lot of work for yourself. That's why we teach multiplication. because it's an easy tool for us to use. Now I know some of you do lattice, I'm old school. Alright, so if Kimon's gonna buy 2 liters of Mountain Dew for $1.12, I could quickly figure out it was $6.72. A lot more difficult for me to have to add $1.12 each time. Alright, so multiplication is, the basic of multiplication is repeated addition. So that's the basic definition of it, alright? Is that multiplication is repeated addition. How do we use multiplication? Jasmine, read that for me, please. How do we use multiplication?
In shopping, baking, counting, anywhere you have a lot of something and need to do it, and need to do addition quickly.
Alright, so it's when you have to do addition quickly, again. Alright, so these are just some visual representations. Alright, I'm at the grocery store. Again, multiplication is the easiest form. With baking, I love to bake. If I'm just looking, and maybe I have a bunch of cookies, it's easier for me to see that I have 4 by 4, which is 16, instead of taking my time and adding them up and counting them. Alright, so before we get started today on our activity, we're going to watch a brain pop video to kind of refresh your memory on multiplication. Now what grade do you think you started multiplication in?
First.
First, third, alright. So we kind of all know multiplication, right?
Right.
Some of us still struggle with multiplication. What is the hardest thing with multiplication for you guys?
What's the hardest thing?
The 11. Okay, so you have a specific number you struggle with?
12.
The 12s?
11 is just adding another the same number to the
Like
number.
7.
But when you get there, like 11 times 4 is 44.
Well, what do we use a lot in here? I see a lot of students using their agenda. Why do we use our agenda a lot?
Because it helps.
There's a multiplication chart in there. So, right, a lot of us, I think, struggle with that memorization fact. And that's why, when you're really young, try remembering those multiplication facts.
There's a certain number that I always can't remember.
So anyway, just to refresh your memory, just pay your attention up here. We are going to watch some brain pop on multiplication. Just kind of refresher, all right? Because what we're going to move on from is we used addition and subtraction with fractions. Find that least common multiple. And then finding the common denominator. We're going to move on to multiplying fractions, which is a little easier, but we want to kind of get a visual representation and refresh our memory of multiplication.
No, he's not your